Liberal Dan back here again on August 5th before my podcast, doing a live reaction to the President's press conference today. I will resume it in progress, and we'll see what else this wonderful president of ours has to say.
Economy functioning really well. When cases surged in June, the Vice President and Dr. Burke visited Arizona to consult with Governor Ducey. They had long consultations with Governor Ducey and his staff, and the Vice President has been in constant contact ever since. My administration is also collaborating with the state and local officials across the South and Midwest to provide similar guidance. We had a great relationship with the representatives in Arizona, and it's been such a successful endeavor. The federal government has supplied or delivered more than 400 million pieces of personal protective equipment to Arizona, along with nearly 70,000 vials of remdesivir.
What President this
we provided
screenshot
over
right here is going to be
we provided over
$18
billion in economic support to Arizona, including more than $8.6 billion to support over 80,000 small businesses. So we really have been helping Arizona, and it's gotten tremendous results. Our goal is to protect the most vulnerable, increase recovery rates, you know that, and it's something so important, and prevent hospital overcrowding, all the while avoiding the kind of stringent lockdowns that would inflict substantial suffering in this phase of the battle. We have the tools, resources, and knowledge to implement a targeted approach as we race to deliver a vaccine, and we are really working very hard on the vaccine, and I think they're doing a fantastic job. I've been meeting with officials of some of the greatest companies in the world.
I'm definitely going to have to make a video about this COVID-19 action.
They're getting very close. They're testing.
Slide that the administration has posted, because this ought to be good.
Must take into
This ought
account
to
the
be
short-term and
full of
long-term public health
malarkey,
harms, including death caused by a far-reaching shutdown. When you shut down, you have many, many things that happen, from suicides to depression to drinking, alcohol problems to
those problems were worse than the deaths from COVID-19. If staying shut down would kill more people than COVID-19, then they should show us that evidence, show us that data, and I would have no problem with them saying, okay, maybe we should reopen everything back up. They have yet to do that. They just vaguely give what might happen and state it as somehow as the gospel. Because they want to support,
is not possible.
They want to support
the governor also
opening and
discretion
making
to
money over saving lives.
Capacity at indoor locations to limit the possibility of super spreading. It's a big thing. My administration surged treatments. We got them a lot of treatments and therapies to the state, including nearly 70,000 vials of remdesivir, enough to treat over 11,000 patients, and it's been very successful.
You will never focus on the negative, and I'm going to talk about that on my podcast today. So I might upload this
testing to over 100
after the podcast
Arizona
airs.
nursing homes. In total, the federal government has provided massive amounts of masks and equipments and gowns, and you know some of those numbers. But Arizona was a very big beneficiary, and they very much really appreciated. More than 1,000 National Guard and medical personnel have also been deployed in Arizona, and they've really helped. They've been terrific, and I want to thank them. They have been brave and brilliant, combination of both. We also supported our tribal communities. The tribal communities were hit very, very hard. Governor Ducey and I personally delivered rapid testing systems to the Navajo Nation, which has been really in originally bad shape and now getting better, and very, very quickly. The Navajo Nation now has one of the highest levels of testing per capita anywhere in the world. We really worked very hard on the tribal areas, and in particular, in this case, the Navajo Nation. They've done incredibly well. Overall, Arizona has conducted over 1.1 million tests. more
probably
than the
not
entire
count
nations of Japan,
some of the Navajo
Mexico, and
Nation to make
Switzerland.
himself look better. 'Cause
Arizona's
that's
per
what he said
capita
yesterday.
testing
That
is higher
if
than
we didn't
Germany,
count New York,
South Korea, France, and
we'd
Canada.
look better.
And tribal governments in Arizona have received nearly $1.3 billion for the coronavirus relief fund. Meanwhile, outdoor dining limited.
He's taking credit
Indoor
for
dining and most of
something
the
in
other
the CARES
businesses
Act
in
again.
Arizona have remained open and very vibrant. They're doing incredibly well. This is an approach, and it's an approach that's been incredibly successful. Arizona has been able to protect high-risk populations and quickly bring its outbreak under control without the need to impose overly punitive measures. Thanks to advances in treating the virus, the fatality rate across all age groups in Arizona is very low.
Why is he just talking about Arizona?
Data-driven strategy also.
He's just going to focus on one state now. Instead of looking at the whole country, less New York, he's going to be looking at one state.
Receive it immediately, very quickly. At the peak, approximately 15% of beds remained available statewide. That was at their peak, with roughly 20% of all occupied beds going to patients hospitalized for the virus. They kept other things going. They kept other forms of operations going. They kept elective surgery going. Did a really amazing
probably
job.
know why he
Today, only
wants to focus on
6% of the
Arizona
current
and sugarcoat that
hospitalizations in the state
because
are
he's
related
fighting
to the
to
China
win
virus.
Arizona.
Arizona has also demonstrated success in
Take a
protecting
shot
the
every
state's
time Donald Trump says
African-American
something
population.
racist and you'll die.
Only 5% of patients
No drinking games for
hospitalized
Donald
are
Trump
African American, and
saying
African
racist
Americans
things.
represent just 2% of all deaths from the virus.
Although you'd be dead much quicker if
it
you
has
were
worked
to take a shot every time you
contain
said
its
something
outbreak.
stupid.
Arizona has also been formulating a plan to get children safely back to school as soon as possible. We want our schools open all over the country. We want our schools open.
But we need to do it safely, so don't rush it.
Well, the Department of Education is providing Arizona schools with $625 million. They're working very hard, and that's in conjunction with CARES funding. My administration is actively working with other states in the same way we worked with Arizona. In recent weeks, members of the coronavirus task force have visited over 15 states to encourage them to follow our path forward, including Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, Indiana, and Ohio. And I'll be going to Ohio tomorrow. I look forward to it very much. It's a great place and a great state with an excellent governor.
What is he going to do? Shoring up red states and going up to swing states?
We'll be visiting Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. And also, I believe they're trying to get in West Virginia, a great place, a great state, and I'm sure that will happen because we'd like it to happen. They'd like to see her. So we're going to try very hard.
Everyone would prefer Perks or
West Virginia,
Fauci over you.
That's
for
to
certain.
deliver aggressive, tailored, and targeted guidance.
Well, maybe not in
The strategy
Mississippi.
we're taking to these states will protect those at highest risk while allowing others at a lower risk to safely resume work and school. If we do this successfully, it can be really something incredible.
Nobody has faith that you can do it successfully.
We're talking about many, many states. It's
many
really
states,
great
the best
to see
states.
also
We've had the
Florida,
best states.
We're coming down. It's
oh,
coming
Florida.
down.
Florida's not coming down.
Pretty substantially in many locations. And
Substantially
even
in
Miami
many
is starting to come down.
locations.
Miami was hit very hard. California, likewise, and Texas, likewise, coming down and really starting to be a substantial.
He's not going to talk about what's going up. He'll never talk about states where it's going up unless he can
impose a wide range
use it to attack a Democrat.
Public health threats, including higher levels.
Republican states, he'll never say these Republican states are going up.
Other significant health harms
resulting
from the depression that we talked about, social isolation, economic hardship. It's been very tough for those people that are
yes, it's been very tough. But all these people that are complaining, I can imagine what they would be like during World War II with the sacrifices that we had to make as a nation in World War II. I mean, these snowflakes would have just gone crazy.
Not measured daily here or abroad. It makes them really a very serious threat because people don't know exactly what they are and how bad they are. But I think they're very bad. Going forward, we must continue to remain vigilant in shielding the elderly and those with underlying conditions. Approximately half of all deaths have occurred in nursing homes and long-term care facilities, which is an incredible
And how do they get there? They get there because we're not social distancing and we're not following the guidelines, not wearing masks. So when the people who work in those facilities or the family members visiting those facilities go other places, other people spread the virus to them and then they pass it on.
It's a patriotic
This is what these people are not getting, and this is what this idiot president's not getting.
Isolate yourself, especially from high-risk family members and friends. So important. Isolate yourself from high-risk family members and friends. If you're not feeling well, together
you can pass it on regardless of if you're feeling well or not.
Thanks to the robust federal action in partnership with state and local leaders, new cases of the virus are declining in 80% of the jurisdictions, which is an incredible number. And the overall test positivity rate is declined by 8%
What
since
jurisdictions
last week.
is he talking about?
0 states have seen outbreaks
talk of
get
what
worse
population are those
since
of those jurisdictions.
Yesterday, so
That's
0
his
states.
spin.
We're
That's like using the
also
county map to
continuing
say,
make
"Ooh, look how
progress
well
in the
Republicans
development
did in
of
the
a
election."
vaccine. This is something
Stupid.
so important. Also, therapeutics are on the front burner. We're having tremendous, I think we'll let you know very soon. I think long before the
We're
end
having
of the
tremendous,
year.
I think, I'll let you know very soon, before the end of the year.
Tremendous success on vaccines, and we're ready to
We won't, if
deliver
we're
them
not having
as
that
soon as they're
information,
okayed.
it's not going to hit
This
us
morning,
before the
my
election,
administration
because
approved $1
again,
billion
he doesn't
for
say
Johnson
negatives, he
and
only says
Johnson.
positives.
Been working
That
very
can
hard,
make
and
him
they
look
have
better.
something very special to manufacture and distribute 100
that's
million
lying.
doses of a China
That's lying.
virus vaccine as soon
Be
as
very clear, that
one
is
available.
lying.
And again, we think that's going to be soon, and we think we're going to have the
When you
vaccine
manipulate
before
the
the end of
facts
the
to
year,
make
maybe
yourself look
long
good by
before the end of the
ignoring
year.
lies of
Finally, today,
omission.
I'm pleased to announce that the Department of Justice has issued $35 million in grants to 73 organizations nationwide, providing assistance to human trafficking victims. A terrible thing. You think of human trafficking as being an ancient form of crime. It's not. Because of the internet, it's a very modern crime all over the world. Not just here, all over the world, human trafficking. It's usually in women or women and children.
And why is he doing this?
Again, because of the internet.
Maybe because there's
It's
that
a,
connection
terrible
to
situation.
him
Never been
and
like this.
Epstein.
And also survivors who
And
face
Maxwell.
heightened dangers during the pandemic.
That's why
it's
he's
actually
doing this.
increased during the pandemic. I guess some reasons are
Oh,
obvious.
look, Donald
and some
Trump's doing
reasons are
things
less
about
obvious,
children who
but
are
human
being
trafficking,
trafficked,
we're working
except his good
very, very
buddies
strongly. The wall is up to
with Epstein.
277 miles right now.
Oh, now he's flipping to the
And
wall.
it's going up by the end of the year. It'll be largely finished shortly.
Did Mexico
after the
pay
end of the year.
for it?
And it's had a
No.
tremendous impact, a very positive impact on human trafficking. Unbelievable impact,
How's
actually.
the wall?
My administration will never rest in our fight against the
Probably
human
come from
trafficking.
Canada
To me, it's one of
instead.
the most
Because
horrific
you know,
of
Canada's
crimes.
up there.
And we work
border.
very hard on that.
Go up that
With
way
that, we'll
instead of
take
going
some
down that way.
questions. Please.
2 quick questions. Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, you said that voting by mail is an invitation to fraud. Could you lay out and tell us exactly where the evidence is right now that mail-in ballots in
I don't have to
Nevada
give
and other
evidence.
states will lead to widespread fraud?
Well, if you read, even the Washington Post had a terrible story on
One
mail-in,
story.
The New York Times. And
One story is
many,
proof.
Many newspapers have had terrible stories. You see them all over the internet. They've had some just horrible.
Everything on the internet is true,
mail-in
don't you
ballots.
know?
You look at Arizona, you don't even have to have, as you know, they have a provision where they don't have to check signatures. So you sign it and you could have a totally different signature. It's okay. It won't be approved. They have the right to go 7 days after the election for approval. So you're not even going to know who won the state of Nevada.
Oh,
I
no.
just wanted to point out, we did call
2000, we didn't know
the Secretary
for,
of State's
what, a
Office
month?
Election Division, and the spokeswoman there said that that simply isn't true, Mr. President, and that Nevada will continue to check ballot signatures against voter registration cards. It's done at the county level.
Okay, but that's not what they said when they approved it. They said they're not going to check signatures. They're not going to be able to, and their machinery, which is old, doesn't allow them to. So they're going to be. It's going to be physically impossible for them to do that.
Again,
especially in
we
a
are
short period of time.
Americans,
In
not
addition, we have the
Americans.
November 3rd election.
We can
and they're
absolutely
allowed
do
to
it.
count
Just
votes
because you
until
say we can't
7
doesn't mean we
days
can't.
after The election.
Your
So what
ineptitude
does that
doesn't mean that everyone else is inept.
Nevada, which is a big state and a great state, a state I like very much, and I think we're going to do very well there. Are we going to wait a week after November?
Yes,
3rd
if we have to,
comes down
because there's a
Nevada?
damn
We could do
pandemic.
well?
You
I
idiot.
don't think so. I don't think it's appropriate. So with all of the bundling that you're going to have, with the harvesting you're going to have, with people being sent ballots all over that have
They're
maybe
not being
nothing to do with the
sent
state
ballots, they're
anymore.
being
It's
sent
a terrible thing. In New York, they had
applications.
Carolyn Maloney.
That's on that
situation,
Axios video. It's
and I criticized it
applications, and he
badly
doesn't
over the last 2
understand
years and
the
2
difference.
days. I mean, I gave it some very, very strong criticism, and all of a sudden, like a miracle, they just approved the winner. Well, what happened? Did the person that was second concede the race, even though it was very close and all mixed up? They have a terrible situation in New York with the ballots, you know that. And as soon as I said, well, I think you should have a new election, because the election, obviously, they're not going to know what to do. I think you should have a new election. They all of a sudden announced a winner. I assume it was her, but they announced a winner. Well, I don't agree with it. Did somebody speak to the person on the other side, the opponent? Did they do something for the opponent on the other side? Take a look at Paterson, New Jersey. Take a look at many things. It's all over
Many
newspapers.
things.
What's going on?
One
with
city in New
mail-in
Jersey
ballots
versus
They
the
they
states
send out
that do
millions
it.
of ballots,
And again, he supports
millions of
Florida
ballots.
doing
They're
it.
totally unprepared
He supports
to do
Florida doing it because
and then
Florida
they
has
come back in the
DeSantis,
millions.
and I'm sure there's
It's going to
Republicans
be
in
a
charge there are going to
disaster.
throw out
I'm doing
many
the
more
country
black
a big
citizens
favor
from the
by
voting
bringing
rolls
it up.
because they
And, you know,
can,
from a common
because
standpoint,
they won't step in
even
and stop them
common
from
sense
keeping them from the
standpoint,
ballot.
If you look at it just
You don't have common
out of
sense.
common sense.
You don't have common
and
sense.
Pure, basic,
Common
beautiful
sense says let
intelligence.
people
You know it can't work.
vote from home
Florida's
when they
worked very
can.
hard for years and years on developing a system, and I'm sure they probably have problems also. But absentee ballots are different than
No, they're not.
mail-in ballots, what you call
They're
universal
not.
mail-in ballots. Are much different. You have
They
to
are
apply
not.
for it. You have to
You
do
have to
different
apply
things,
for the
and it's a
mail-in
much
ballots.
better
You have to
system,
send in
and
your
it's a system
application.
that can be
You have to
reasonably
approve
accurate.
you for
But
that
there's no
ballot.
system
Then
like
you
going
get the
to
ballot.
the poll and voting. So I would like to find out why all of a sudden, out of nowhere, in the midst of all of this grief,
It's out of nowhere.
why is it that they approved the New York race while you asked that question?
Race, sir, there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud
Which one?
there.
Oh, really?
Carolyn
Well, then
Maloney's
you're reading a different newspaper than me.
Does have to do with
Go ahead.
I'm reading OAN.
in the postmarks
Go ahead,
of the
please,
mail,
go.
sir.
Sir, you said in an interview this morning on the coronavirus, this thing's going away. It will go away like things go away, despite
Yeah, you
ongoing
said that
cases.
today.
and
Going away.
Isn't that continued claim out of touch with reality?
It's going away. No, it'll go away like things go away.
Like magic, it'll go away, just like he said,
In my
what,
mind,
6
it will
months
go away.
ago?
Please, go ahead.
He said it would go away?
Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Mr. President, you praised Governor Ducey's handling of the epidemic in his state. One of the things that he did was delay the start of public schools opening. Is that a model that governors in states experiencing hotspots should do as the beginning of school does in February?
Well, I'd like to see the schools open. I think many
That's
of
not
the
an
schools,
answer.
most of the schools will be open. I can
He's
say
never
that,
gonna say, do this
Republican
negative
areas
thing.
want to see them open, and the Democrats probably want to keep them closed until after November 3rd because they think it's good for them politically. I actually don't think it's good for them politically. Parents want the schools open. We want them open. We want them open
I'm a
safely.
parent.
We're
I don't want the
practicing
school open. I want
and all of the
distance
other
learning.
things that I've enumerated
We should be
many
investing
times.
in distance
But we
learning so
wanna
that
see the schools
kids
open.
don't get sick and die.
You're encouraging states to follow Governor Ducey's model here, and what part of that model was
Not his model. I just think he's done a very good job. I mean, he's really done a great job. You look at the numbers, you look at how it's dropped, and very rapidly, he's done a great job. He's a great governor. Please.
In an interview this morning, Mr. President, you were talking about opening the schools, and you said children are virtually immune from
Which is a lie.
COVID-19, but
Which is
children
a
have
lie.
contracted this
Children
virus
have
and some
died.
When I say that, I'm talking about from getting very sick. If you look at
They've
children, they're
died.
able to throw it off very
They've
easily.
died.
And
Children
it's an
have
amazing
died,
thing
you
because
idiot.
Some flus, they don't. They get very sick and they have problems
Children
with flus
have
and they
died.
problems with other things. But for whatever reason, the China virus, children handle it very
Racist.
well.
Ding.
And they may
I need a
but
dinger
they
over
get it,
here
and
where it just goes,
doesn't have much of an impact on them. And if you look at the numbers of in terms of mortality, fatality, the numbers for children under a certain age, meaning young, their immune systems are very, very strong. They're very powerful,
and then they still pass it on to
seem
the
be
other
able to
people
handle
that they're
it very
living
well,
with.
and that's according to every statistic.
Is it right
Yeah,
to
please
say
go ahead.
Mr. President, at least 2 people connected to Kanye West's effort to get on the ballot have been connected to the Republican Party. Is this
Whose ballot?
To Kanye West.
With Kanye
he's getting on the
West?
ballot, including in swing states. And as you know, his wife has raised issues about whether he's having mental issues right now. So my question to you is,
That Kanye West does? I don't know that. Who said that?
His wife?
said he might be going through
He
an
just
episode.
said his wife.
Anyway, my question
I
to
like
you
him.
is,
I mean, I like him. He's always been very nice to me.
are you aware of any
So
of
did
the
about
efforts?
Kanye West.
Are you aware of, or have you encouraged anyone in the party to help him get on the ballot, including in swing
No, not
states?
at all. No, not at all. Other than I get along with him very well. I like him. I like his wife. His wife recommended certain people, as you know, including Alice Johnson, who's a fantastic woman, but his wife recommended certain people to get out of
Can't believe
prison.
we're talking about Kim
in prison
Kardashian
for a
and
long
Kanye
time.
West in a presidential
A
briefing.
long
This is
time.
how
It should have never
down,
happened. And,
how far down we've
I
gone as a
took what
country.
she said
That
very
presidential
seriously.
briefings on a
Kim
pandemic
Kardashian.
are including questions
And,
about Kanye.
he's got a good heart,
I
very
mean,
good
if
heart.
he's trying to
And,
manipulate the
I like
system to get
Kanye
Kanye on the
very much. I
ballot
have nothing to
in
do with
several
him getting on the ballot.
states,
We'll have to see
then,
what
you
happens.
know,
We'll see if he gets on the ballot, but I'm not
that is
involved.
problematic.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to ask you, the group of Republican senators are backing $25 billion in payroll assistance to keep the airlines being able to pay their payrolls. Do you, do you endorse that
They're
plan?
doing what Republican senators are
Republican
doing.
senators want to go ahead with another $25 billion for
That's for airline
airlines to keep their
employees.
payrolls going.
Well, if they need
How
it,
about
certainly that's a
just-
business. Some businesses are doing better
Instead of
than
giving it
they
to
would
the
normally,
airlines, just give it
obviously.
to
We
the
know what those
people instead.
businesses
Don't
are.
have them go
Obviously,
through.
the airline business
There's no
is
reason to
not
do
doing very
that.
well. You have shutdowns all over the world, and you have airlines that are essentially shut down. Some airlines are doing.
They should be. We shouldn't be flying most places. There should be hardly any air travel.
Airlines going.
Airplanes are
Very
freaking
good times very
Rona
soon, I hope.
tubes.
And we don't want to lose our airlines. So if they're looking at that, whether they're Republican or Democrat, I'd be certainly in favor. We can't lose our transportation system. Yes, go ahead.
I wanted to ask
The planes
you about
won't go
this.
away.
There's been some question about your comments yesterday saying that it was an attack and that you'd heard from military officials that there was, an explosion, that it looked like
Well, they
some
don't
sort
really
of a
know what it
bomb.
was. I can tell you, whatever happened, it's terrible, but they don't really know what it is. Nobody knows
But
yet.
yesterday you said it was an
At
attack,
this moment, they're
even
looking-
though there's no
it
evidence
could- I mean,
that
how
says
can
it
you
was
say
an
accident?
attack.
Somebody was
How could you say an accident? Because you don't know.
terrible.
You don't know what it is.
Explosive type devices and things around, perhaps it was that, perhaps it was an attack. I don't think anybody can say right now. We're looking into it very strongly. Right now, it's
Strong, very
Some
strongly.
people think it was an attack, and you have some people that think it wasn't. In any event, it was a terrible event, and a lot of people were killed, and a tremendous number of people were badly wounded, injured, and we're standing with that country. You know, we have a very good relationship with that country, but it's a country under it's a lot of turmoil, a lot of problems, but we stand with them.
And it's all the Democrats' fault.
Thank you. You said earlier today that you are considering using the White House as the venue for
Yeah.
your nomination speech. Senator John Thune questioned whether or not that's
Wow.
actually legal given the Hatch Act. Is this something
Wow,
that you would
I
take
never heard that.
seriously?
Wow.
John Thune did, right? The Republican John Thune? Oh, okay, well.
Yes, the
it is
Republican,
legal.
there's-
There is no Hatch Act because it doesn't pertain to the president. But if I use the White House, we save tremendous amounts of money for the government in terms of security, traveling. If we go to another state
You
or
can't
some
use the
other
White House for
location,
your own. You should, even if you
the
could, you
amount of
shouldn't
money is
use the White
very
House
enormous. So that's something
for your
to
own
consider
political
also. I think it would be a very
event.
convenient location. It would be by far the least expensive location. There'd be very little in terms of that tremendous traveling security with airplanes and everybody flying all over the place. So I think. It
I
would
mean,
be
we all
a
know you
very
just want to hold.
convenient
You want to.
idea.
You said
It's something
tell.
that we
You just have them tell
throw
you
out
no,
would
so
be
then you
very
have to go use
cost-conscious by
Mar-a-Lago,
comparison to
and then
any
you
other
could use
location.
all your
Yeah.
campaign funds at Mar-a-Lago.
Your son, Don Jr., tweeted yesterday asking you to direct the EPA to reject the Pebble Mine in Bristol Bay, Alaska. It's a giant copper and gold mine, and the thinking is that it
Rejected
would,
in what way?
just reject its construction. The Army Corps of Engineers 2 weeks ago suggested it would be okay to proceed with the project, but it would, sportsmen like your son are saying that it would be harmful to fisheries.
Well, I've listened to both sides. I don't know of the argument yet, but I would
That's
certainly
the
listen to both
interesting
sides.
combination of
My son has
conservatives
some
who
very
like to
strong
hunt and
opinions, and
fish
he is very
versus
much an
environmentalists that come
environmentalist, and I
together.
was very impressed
Something happened in
with what we did
Louisiana like
yesterday, 'cause
that.
that's one of the great
If you want to learn more about that, you can
environmental
call in the
bills
show and we'll
beyond
talk
that
about it.
Ever signed since well, I guess over 100 years if you think about it. It's been a long time, but I will look at both sides of it. I had heard about it. I understand they're going to be doing a briefing sometime over the next 48 hours. It's going to go very quickly. I've done a lot for Alaska. I love Alaska. It's a special place. Anwar was one thing, the highway, Cove Highway, or whatever the new name is, whatever the old name is. We're getting approvals for.
Oh, he's starting
tremendous
his word
highway
salad
that
now.
sought for 40 years they've been trying to get it approved, and I'm getting it approved. We've done a lot for Alaska. It's a special place, and I'll take a look at that. It's interesting. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Secretary Esper said today that based on what he had heard, the incident in Beirut he felt was an accident. Now, he's disagreed with you on other things before. Do you have any comment about his remark?
No, whatever if that's what he heard, I think that I've heard it both ways too. I've heard accent, I've heard explosives, and obviously
it is explosives. It's explosives with an accident.
Whether it was a bomb intentionally set off, it ended up being a bomb. But no, I've heard it both ways. It could have been an accident, and it could have also been something that was very offensive, and I wouldn't be very happy with that.
And you have no problem with
Just to
that?
follow up on that, Mr. President, even if you just have suspicion that the Beirut explosion is a bomb, do you have any plans of pertaining to U.S. assets in the region, for example? I mean, how are you looking into this?
We're working very closely with the government, and we're working very closely with many different agencies, including the military, and we'll be able to figure it out. We already probably have figured it out. Thank you very much, everybody.
And there you go.
What did you mean when you said it is?
And there you go. So, our president, another day, another briefing, more ridiculousness from this president. I just, I'll go about this more on my podcast tonight. And this is something that was talked about in the Axios interview, and I've talked about it in previous videos about him sugarcoating, how he likes to sugarcoat things so much that everybody has diabetes now because of that. Rest in peace, Wilford Brimley. And so on Axios, they discussed the whole thing about his positive thinking and how he has been, said to just always describe things in a positive way. And that basically is the same thing that I'm talking about with his sugarcoating of everything, which is that he will never talk about something that's a negative if it's going to in any way impact him, has anything to do with him in any way. Like, he'll never say, he'll never talk about the cases going up or the deaths going up. He doesn't want to talk about that. He wants to talk about deaths going down. He wants to always spin it into a positive about him. And that's one of the problems with electing a businessman to the office, because everything is about positively spinning his brand. That's why we shouldn't have a businessman in the office. I mean, nothing about being a businessman specifically prevents you from holding the office, but we're seeing what happens when one does one, especially one as dishonest and corrupt as Donald Trump. Everything is going to be spun in such a way that it always have to make him look good. Never discuss the bad. And that's extremely problematic, because you already have enough of that from politicians in the first place. But add Trump's business on top of it, and we're never going to get a clear picture as long as he is president, at least from him. We'll get it from other people. We'll get it from Birx and Fauci as much as they can do, because they have to walk this tightrope where they can't just come out and contradict him all the time, because they'll lose their jobs. He'll can them. So they have to walk this tightrope of, let's get out as much truth as possible without hurting his fragile ego. Because when you hurt his fragile ego, that's when he does things like withdraw the United States from the WHO. Because the only reason that happened is because they were upset, or he was upset, because they suggested that the money could be spent, an effort that could be spent on implementing and enforcing a ban of travel from China to the United States could have been spent in other ways. And they were already here anyway, as it's been pointed out to him several times, but again, he needs to shift the blame on other people and not take any responsibility for himself. The buck stops nowhere near this president. Anyway, that's the end of this one. If I do happen to get this up and you happen to watch before the podcast, tune in tonight, 8 p.m. Central, on Blog Talk Radio. I'm having Joanna Schroeder, a friend of the show, on to discuss one of her articles that she had written. and we'll also be talking about the Donald Trump Axios interview. I've labeled, this is the start of season 9 of Liberal Dan Radio, and I'm trying to call it the hashtag Year of Liberal Dan, whatever that turns out to be. It is what it is, but I'm going to try a little bit of that positive thinking without the negative sides of that, and try and say, okay, this is going to be the year where I want to push Liberal Dan Radio to be the best it can possibly be. And I can only do that with your help. Your help includes subscribing to the channel, like me on Facebook, facebook.com/LiberalDan, @LiberalDanRadio on Twitter. There's the Anchor podcast, anchor.fm/LiberalDan, and if you want to support the show by either buying advertising or sponsoring bits, or just being a Patreon of the show, as low as $3 for the minicast, $5 for the podcast. I'll at least do that, and I'll give you a shout out on the program as well, at least once, probably more so. Till the next one, stay healthy, stay safe, mask up, keep socially distanced, and have a good day.